right, Cory, we're off to another monastery to become a monk.
You need to practice every day, so when the time comes, you will be ready. Trees don't heed back, but your enemies do. They won't spare you, young Chan. A man is responsible for his family. And when I'm gone, you will need to protect our village. Protect them with your life.
Cory, you and I are checking out a game on the PlayStation 4, 9 Monkeys of Shaolin. Dude, this is a side-scrolling brawler, more or less, right? It's a beat-em-up title. You're playing as a monk. You were actually a fisherman back in your village, which just got burned by a bunch of bandits, and you were saved by the Shaolin monks, and now you join them for retribution moving forward within the game. And the story then starts to unfold as you progress longer within the game, obviously. And I found the more I played the game, the more I actually enjoyed the game mechanics. The story is, you know, it's tongue-in-cheek. They know what they are when they're putting the game out there, so they really kind of play that up, right? The old Shaolin monk kind of overall arching story and how they portray these characters and stuff. I thought that was really well done. I had fun playing the game, but as I said, the more I played, the more stuff I was able to unlock, and that's when I was able to chain some of these combos together and use my abilities. And then I'm like, by the end of the game, dude, I'm flying from one side of the screen, I'm back on the other side of the screen, I'm all over the place. And some of it, like the game itself was, I think the level design was cool. There's some platforming issues that I had that wasn't really, I didn't feel it matched the actual game itself, which was a little too bad, because it would have been nice to have it a little bit smoother. There's some levels where you betray in the distance and then you come back on the forefront and you lose that gauge. It's not a traditional platformer, you know what I mean? Like we got Crash is a platforming game too, sure, through and through, right? And it feels like that. So when you go from side scrolling and 9 Monkeys of Shaolin, all of a sudden there's a bit of a platform, and it's not like a long platforming stage. It's just kind of tossed within the level for a bit of variety, but it just didn't match. What do you think of 9 Monkeys of Shaolin?
Well, you know what, you're right. There's definitely some camera issues here at times, but jumping in, I mean, this is a style of game I think you and I have played a lot of over the past couple of years, and we like this side-scrolling kind of slash, you know, it's all about the dodging. It's very, you know, it's the way you build your character up in this game is you can really customize your play style. Like you said, when you start unlocking some different weapons and equipment, you can really kind of choose how you want to play through this game. The story is told pretty well. I thought the voiceovers were actually done really, really well in this game. There was no really annoying character. You know, we sometimes always get that one voice where it's like, oh, I can't stand it. Especially in these games where, you know, there's a bit of comic relief in some of the story, because there was in this. I mean, there wasn't a ton, but again, it was a pretty good little flowing story through the 5 chapters. There wasn't a ton of gameplay here as far as time. It took about 3 to 4 hours to finish the 5 chapters, and that was on the easiest difficulty. There are 3 more difficulties above that. And let me tell you, you go into some of those other ones, and it's like, it's absolute insanity. The enemies are way more aggressive, but again, it's the replayability there. Once you kind of play through this game and you get to the end, you've unlocked all the equipment you can unlock, and so you can start to kind of pick and choose how you want to play. So you go through and play these harder difficulties, and you can kind of keep that death count, and there's a bit of a challenge there. So there is some replayability, even though it is short overall. But I just really love the way this game looked. Like, the art style was awesome, you know, it looked really, really good. All the towns, you know, whether they're burning or it's the middle of the day or at night, you're maybe in a cave or a castle. There's so many different settings here, and they were all done really, really well, so you kind of get immersed, because the audio is the next thing, man. I told you when we were playing this co-op that the audio in this game just kind of gets you into this really intense kind of battle mode. You want to use all these abilities and use your chi and use all the special things that you get, because as you progress through it, it's not only the attacks with your weapon and, you know, the kicks that you can do, it's you get these abilities to kind of have these auras around you. You can launch people in the air and smash them down or bring them closer to you, and so there's a lot of variety here. So like you said, the deeper you get into this game, the more you unlock, the more options there are. So there was so much fun in all of that.
No, absolutely. Corey, you and I are big on art style, and the art direction of this game absolutely hit home with us. So, you know, these kind of games tend to do that for us, and that's a big driving point for us to play these type of games as well. And when we get into this one, when it first started, I'm like, ooh, man, this feels very repetitive. And then you experience, like, I finished the game on normal, and some of the enemy type, like, you get this banshee witch like creature, and like, dude, that is just
so tough. She's so tough.
She's painful, right? And then you get into some of these knights and other things as you kind of progress through, and some ninjas, and you're getting shot from sometimes in the background. You're getting shot with this like arrow or blow dart sort of thing, and at points I didn't even see them until it was too late. I'm like, oh, cool, that was pretty sneaky to put that character there, right? So I think the level design was really well designed. And then as you progress through, more enemies on screen. You and I did jump into online co-op. You can play couch co-op as well, which I thought was very cool. It did seem to lag a little bit on my end when I was playing. So hopefully they can maybe polish that up a little bit. But it wasn't like, it didn't hinder my experience at all. I could just see you kind of janking across the screen a little bit, right? So it wasn't awful, but it wasn't too bad either. So I had a good time playing. It was a ton of fun. The end boss is just awful, man.
Tough.
I hate it when games progress you to the end and go, okay, now it's the final boss. Here you go.
Figure it out.
You're just there. Oh man, like I don't mind it being tough, but this was just brutal. And you know me, I'm not that Souls-like kind of guy, so I have a problem when it comes to that sort of stuff. But I just want to play the game, and on normal, I didn't think it was too bad. The banshees were a little bit tough, that's for sure, because their health was so longer compared to everybody else.
Oh yeah.
And the only way you can defeat these guys is with the chi. So it was a bit of an issue, right?
It just felt like, especially those witch characters, that their hit point level was so much higher than some of the other characters, especially at their size, right? Because this game really seemed like the smaller characters didn't have as many hit points, and then you started getting into the larger, more armored characters, harder to take them down, you know? So the witch wasn't very big, not heavily armored, but you had to use your special abilities, which wasn't necessarily always easy to kind of round up, because you have to always be comboing, hitting to build up those meters, your chi meters, to be able to use moves against those witches. So it was frustrating, because sometimes you'd have two on the screen at the same time, and they're spawning kind of zombie characters that you have to fight before you can attack them. So it gets really busy on screen. And when we played co-op, that was a bit of a problem, because maybe just because I'm used to playing solo, when there's two of us on screen, I tend to get lost a little bit. I was staring at your character, and then I find myself I'm jumping around in the corner, and I'm not actually doing anything because I think I'm moving in your character. So you do get a little bit lost. They do a good enough job of keeping, obviously, your characters different colors. When you end the game, there's items you find throughout that are hidden, and it actually unlocks different mods after you beat the game, so you can kind of go small head mode or change the character that you play as. So that's kind of neat, and the fact that you can do that in co-op mode as well is kind of handy. So it might actually help you a little bit more locate your character on screen. But that was kind of one of the co-op things, outside of it being just a little bit janky. But again, it was fun. You actually said we were playing, it felt like the old school Ninja Turtles game, and it really did. The way you move around screen and attack the characters, and how the characters kind of climb out of the, you know, the terrain. They'll come out of a house, or jump over a fence, or come out of the bushes, or something like that. So it was really cool to kind of jump in. This game is kind of a hidden little treasure, because it's only $20. This is a really good price for a game like this.
Yeah, exactly, right. I think it's priced at the right price point for the game itself, because it's not, like you said, it's not a long experience, but it allows you to get in there and you can just hop around the screen, man, and just beat them up in the ninja style. Like, it's cool to unlock different staffs and use those. I always went with the poison one, so when you hold down your button, you can kind of charge it up and then hit them, and this poison kind of gas.
Yeah, like a cloud.
Yeah, it's really cool. I had a ton of fun playing this one, man.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Well, Corey, I think we've transformed our Wei Chung into the monastery monk that we've been after in Shaolin. What are you scoring 9 Monkeys of Shaolin?
You know what? I've spent $20 on a lot worse things. This game was a lot of fun, and the fact that you can play local couch co-op and online co-op is a huge bonus for a $20 game. That's not necessarily a feature you expect. There's some content here. There's a lot of weapons. It was a ton of fun. I gotta give this one an 8.5.
Wow, dude, that's high. I wasn't know if I was gonna go that high at all. I'm a little bit lower than you, I think the combat does get a little bit repetitive as you play along, and it does get very familiar, right? You kind of go from one screen of enemies into the next screen of enemies. The overall story was very tongue-in-cheek, but it was fun, right?
Yeah.
For $20, I think you're gonna be in there for a good time, just not a long time. And for that, I'm there with an 8.
Fun gameplay and great level design, along with couch co-op and online co-op. It is a short campaign, but there's lots of weapon and gear customization options that really let you suit your playstyle here.